to another week of Cover 3 on Yahoo Sports. I'm Michelle Gingras. As always, Kimberley Martin joining me from New York City, and Liz Loza holding it down on the West Coast. And guys, after an impactful Week 15, we've got plenty to dive into today. The NFC is suddenly very crowded at the top. The Patriots find themselves in the middle of a controversy yet again. And we'll preview a Saints-Colts Monday night matchup that could feature a big milestone for the one and only Drew Brees. Plus, our friend Scott Pioli joins us a little later to help play general manager for a few teams facing some difficult offseason decisions. But first, it's time to run the option. So, speaking of Drew Brees, if he can lead the Saints to a victory tonight over the Colts, they'll join the Seahawks, the Packers, and the 49ers atop the NFC at 11-3. That's a very crowded and top-heavy NFC this season that's still wide open with only 2 weeks to go. So out of those four teams, who do you have repping the NFC in the Super Bowl? Kimberley, let's start with you.
I said the 49ers should be in the Super Bowl against the Ravens, and I'm going to stick with it. Yesterday's loss to the Falcons does not change my belief in the 49ers. I think that was a bad loss. Don't get it twisted. But really, why did we believe in the 49ers? Their defense, their running game, and George freaking Kittle. All those factors still apply, so I'm all in on the 49ers still.
I do not disagree with Kimberley that she has every right and should be all in on the 49ers, but yesterday's game, their loss to the Falcons did give me a moment of pause. The fact that Jimmy Garoppolo only passed for 200 yards with top cornerback Desmond Trufant of the Falcons out is a little bit suspect. So I am going to lean towards the Seahawks. Now, both the Seahawks and the 49ers have a lot of injuries on defense. The 49ers were without 6 starters yesterday, and the Seahawks were without Shaquille Griffin. Quandre Diggs is banged up. Jadeveon Clowney's been working through a core muscle issue throughout a lot of the season. He had the flu yesterday, so he missed. But when I look at Russell Wilson, and I think about Tyler Lockett back to health, and I think about DK Metcalf evolving, I think about Chris Carson and that run game, and I look at Russell Wilson's ability to be clutch through the postseason and his veteran presence, I have to give the advantage to Seattle.
I seem to remember a time, Kimberley, when you wrote about the Saints going to the Super Bowl as well, but I guess your stance has changed since then.
Hello, that.
Let's move on. Since we're making predictions today, let's keep it in the NFC and talk about what many consider the NFC least. And a battle between the 7-7 Cowboys and 7-7 Eagles in Philly next week. That should determine the division. Both teams with big wins yesterday. The Cowboys being a little bit more impressive of the two as of right now. So, Liz, who wins next week and takes the NFC East, the Eagles or the Cowboys?
Well, listen, the Cowboys should absolutely win this, right? On paper, they have the best roster. Yesterday, Sean Lee played like a vintage version of himself through an injury, no surprise. But that's exactly why the Eagles will win. Because the Cowboys never show up when they need to show up or when they're expected to show up. And I have to give props to Doug Peterson and company, because this team has been hit by the injury bug. It's been like the injury plague so severely. But what that has forced them to do is become creative. They've got this converted quarterback, Greg Ward, scoring and catching the game-winning touchdown. They've got the rookie Miles Sanders showing up in a big way. Boston Scott, the little water bug who similarly to Darren Sproles and was cut by New Orleans, is doing big things. So because they've been forced to be creative, I think they're going to end up the most victorious for whatever that's worth in this division.
Yeah, with 5 seconds left, I
was going to say, you got to make this one. You got to make this one quick, Kimberley.
The Cowboys, they have a better roster, and I actually trust the Cowboys' skill positions more than I trust Carson Wentz to take care of the football.
All right, moving on. On the AFC side, the Ravens continued their dominance on Thursday night, and the Chiefs and the Pats took care of business yesterday. So the biggest wins in the playoff picture came for the Texans and the Bills, and the biggest losses were the two teams they beat, the Titans and the Steelers, now fighting for that 6th and final spot. Kimberley, who do you like as the last AFC playoff team, the Steelers or the Titans?
I like Ryan Tannehill, don't get me wrong, but I think what the Steelers are overachieving at this point. When you look at the job Mike Tomlin has done, and I talked about Mike Tomlin last week, I just think Duck Hodges, I understand they lost yesterday to the Bills, but really what they've been able to do, Juju hasn't been healthy, James Conner hasn't been healthy all year, and still the Steelers find themselves in a position to make the playoffs. They've gone through 3 quarterbacks at this point. That's really impressive, and I think they're the team that actually should sneak in.
I totally agree that the Steelers are the friskier team, and they are awesome. But I think I'm going to lean towards the Titans, because when I look at yesterday's admitted loss to the Texans, they were by no means blown out. I mean, if Justin Reed hadn't knocked the ball out of Anthony Frisker's hands and Whitney Merciless hadn't grabbed it and run for the takeaway, also being tackled by Jonnu Smith, which was pretty incredible, this game would have been much closer. So I think the Titans are staying competitive. They found something real in Tannehill, who is playing, with wild abandon, throwing his body all over the field, and they certainly hit on their second-round draft pick, A.J. Brown. So I love this connection. I like them for the future, and I just think they're a more interesting team moving forward.
All right, that's it for Run the Option, but like we do each week, we spend a little bit more time breaking down a certain topic, and today that topic that has us and pretty much everyone else fired up once again, the Patriots being accused of doing something that they were not supposed to do. The ongoing allegations that the Patriots illegally filmed the Bengals sidelines got an added wrinkle before the game yesterday as Fox Sports' Jay Glazer released a video showing an exchange between a Bengals employee and a member of the Patriots film crew in question. Check it out.
And this is a piece you're filming on your advanced scout?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, guys. I don't see the advanced scout in this footage.
No, it's not. We were trying to get some field perspective. It's my bad.
That's not the field.
Believe that.
That's why you would think you could take that.
I didn't know. I didn't know. Sorry. But I can delete this right here for you.
Damage is done, my friend.
No, it isn't, because we deleted it.
Once again,
Once it's gone.
22 yards line,
gone.
29 yards on the punt.
I can't
They
get that
returned 29 yards.
There's no way I can get that footage back. I'm being honest with you. And I don't have a computer to even put it anywhere. Once this card's, that's it.
Yeah, I don't see the advanced scout in any of this video they're shooting.
That's high quality footage right there.
That's good stuff. All right, Kimberly, so let's start with you. Did this video change your perception of what happened here? And maybe what did you think happened here to begin with?
I don't know. It almost makes me, seeing the video and that exchange, it almost makes me feel like, even more so, this makes no sense. That video, I don't know what he was thinking. I would hate to think that the Patriots were this stupid, because looking at that footage, I don't know what they could glean from that would actually help them and give them an advantage. But the absurdity of the dialogue, and the Boston accent is just terrible. So I think it's great audio quality and everything like that. But really, I don't know what
did
he
we
was
learn
trying
from
to
that?
do. I think if you think the Patriots are frauds and cheats and all that, if that's your opinion, I think this video confirms what you already think. I don't think anything about that gives you a feeling like, oh, Bill Belichick's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna use that on Sunday.
Liz, what do you think?
I think Kimberly's right. I mean, this is a confirmation bias situation, right? If you believe that the Patriots cheat, then look, you got more proof. And if you think that Bill Belichick is just a genius who's a step ahead of everybody else, then this was some guy who went out of his lane and, didn't take any sort of action from the top. So people are going to think whatever they're going to want to think. What remains is that the Bengals are not a very good team, and the Patriots crushed them. I do think it's interesting, however, because I've heard a lot of people say, like, yeah, but why would they try to cheat against the Bengals? I mean, goodness.
They'd never played
Except
them.
Zach Taylor's a new coach, right? After 15 years of the same old, now there's some new information, some new schemes to maybe get a jump on, to add to the library, perhaps, if that's your train of thought.
So this gets added to the Patriots pile here, which is already bigger than some of the other piles from other teams. So Liz, just going right back to you, do you think this hurts the legacy of this Patriots team, of Bill Belichick, or do you think maybe that ship has already sailed?
I can't help but think about Coach Glenn Pop Warner when talking about Belichick, who is also a historian. Sally Law wrote an incredible book called The Real All-Americans that chronicled the Carlisle football team. And there are so many, and that also talks about the ascent of Pop Warner. And he was a coach who was known for skating the line between cheating and ingenuity. And again, I just think about Belichick and his ability to bend the rules and find loopholes that give his team a winning advantage. Now, it's something that probably every other team in the league does, but maybe not as well, and maybe doesn't fly as close to the sun, if you will. So I am thinking that at the end of the day, Pop Warner is a revered coach that we have our little kids like in Pop Warner leagues, and at the end of the day, Bill Belichick's going to win all of the Lombardi trophies, and we will forget that perhaps there is a tarnish to his legacy because it's not the fun stuff to remember.
You know, I don't think this video situation, I don't think that's the thing that will tarnish the Patriots' legacy. I think Spygate did that. You know, the inflated football, like, I think...
You're saying
I think it happened already. I don't think this Bengals situation rises to that level. I think, unfortunately, the Patriots have gotten themselves in a situation based on past behaviors, based on, Robert Kraft and all these extracurricular situations with this team that it's just not a good look. That's what it boils down to. And unfortunately, even if they were completely innocent and this videographer was just doing his own thing, I mean, they have a history here.
The security guy for the Bengals
earned our suspicion.
Exactly. I was just going to say, the security guy for the Bengals, he alluded to it. He said the damage is already done. So the damage has already been done, regardless of what happens out of this. So, all right, good talks, guys. Coming up, we're talking Saints-Colts on Monday Night Football, a game that could see Drew Brees pass Peyton Manning for the all-time career passing touchdown record. Here's Drew on just how much that would mean to him.
Peyton Manning's career touchdown pass record is obviously significant. I can remember watching it on TV when he took the record from Brett Favre. So you're talking about some of the greatest players to ever play this game at their respective position. I'm always a believer that records are meant to be broken, and I'm sure this record will continue to be broken. But bottom line is, I'm blessed to be able to play this game for so long, and if it's meant to be, then it'll happen. I can't say that any record necessarily means more than another in my career, but certainly the records that encompass a career versus maybe an individual season, each one stands alone, but the career marks, it just represents so many people, so many people that were involved in that, from coaches to teammates to mentors. So I think those are more significant because you feel like everybody shares in those.
Let's go. Did that give everyone else chills? Like
No,
it didn't.
No.
All right, the Saints hosting the Colts tonight in the Superdome. Kickoff is slated for 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, and of course, you can catch that game right here on the Yahoo Sports app following our show. We now bring in friend of the show and 5-time NFL Executive of the Year, Scott Pioli, to help us break down the teams in this game and a few others. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a little unnerving watching you watch him on video.
That was she's 100% in her element.
What? I'm not a Drew Brees fan.
What Brees candle?
What are you talking about? All right, so we'll get back to you in a few minutes, Scott. But first, the Saints are looking to bounce back tonight after that dramatic shootout loss to the 49ers last week. Kimberley, what do you expect to see from Brees and company tonight?
I expect to see a win. I expect to see Drew Brees break Peyton Manning's record. I just expect the Saints not to fall into a trap game here. I think this is a team that's still vying for the top seed in the NFC East. They want home field advantage. It's all there for the Saints. They just have to not do what the 49ers did yesterday.
Falcons, man, are kryptonite this year.
Yes.
They've been a problem for the Saints before and in the past, but you're absolutely right. The Saints are their own worst enemy in these situations, and the trap game, that's a really good point.
It's real.
Yeah. On the flip side, the 5-2 start behind Jacoby Brissette for the Colts, they were flying. Now they're trying to right the ship, sitting at 6-7. A loss tonight ends their playoff hopes, so you know that they're going to be coming out. Do you think, Liz, that they have a chance? And what do you make of this Colts up and down season so far?
So I do think they have a chance, and I think that's because, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, T.Y. Hilton, who is an absolute difference maker in the passing game for them, is, quote, trending in the right direction and should play tonight. Now, if that happens, then obviously this whole offense gets a huge boost. I also expect them to rely on Marlon Mack, their stud running back who came back last week. Let's not forget that this defense in New Orleans is banged up. They're without Marcus Davenport and Sheldon Rankins, so I think Mack has a good shot to run. Also, their stud safety Von Bell is hurt. So this defense is not as scary as it was a couple weeks ago.
All right, good argument.
Michelle's not trying to hear all that. Get out of here.
Scott, now we turn it over to you. We wanted to put our general manager hats on, and you're the perfect person to do that with, and talk through some interesting choices a few teams are going to have this offseason, one of which will be the Colts. So we start here. Is Jacoby Brissette the starter next year for the Colts and going forward? Is he the future?
I think he should be, because right now they don't have a different player to put in that position. And everyone also often they want to talk about, well, let's move on from this player, let's move on this player. Until you have a solution to the problem, which he's not, you don't make a change. I think Jacoby Brissette brings a couple things to the team. He is a leader, he's humble, and he's good. He's not great, but he's good. He's good enough to win a division championship with. He's good enough to go to the Super Bowl with. The other thing I think about the quarterback position is you have to have a leader that's really, truly dependable. Jacoby Brissette is as dependable a human being, as dependable a football player as there is. Now, the contract is always something you have to worry about. Right now, he has a contract that is not difficult to live with. So I think he's the player, until they find something better, is good enough to help them win.
Kimberly, what do you think, too? The way he started the season and came in, Andrew Luck goes out. Expectations are low for this team. And
that's the thing, right? That's the thing. You thought, wait, everybody's stunned, no Andrew Luck, and then all of a sudden, in comes Jacoby Brissette. Mm-hmm. And the Colts are still rolling with the defense, offense. And you never had questions about Jacoby Brissette, right? You felt like, okay, he plug and play. Let's go, right? And then when injuries happened, T.Y. Hilton goes down, Marlon Mack, and then you start seeing, okay, the Colts they're kind of scuffling a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a Jacoby Brissette issue. I just think as the season goes on, you've got injuries that you've got to deal with, and so the Colts. They need some help. They need some help to make the playoffs. But really, I don't think Jacoby Brissette is a question mark.
And the contract is friendly enough where they can surround him with good players and a good defense that will make him a better quarterback. Right. And I think he has the humility to understand that he's going to need some help. And he feels very blessed to be making what he's making. And I think he's a tremendous choice for the quarterback next year.
All right, well, so let's stay with quarterbacks. Another team, maybe even with a bigger question mark at that position, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Somewhat similar dilemma to last season. So what do they do with Jameis Winston?
Jameis he's that conundrum, right? He can throw up all the yards he wants, but then throw a pick on the first drive all the time. That's the thing. That's what makes him so maddening, I would think. So what do you do with him?
He's frustrating from the standpoint, everyone knows how supremely talented he is. He's frustrating because of his lack of dependability. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean he's an undependable human being. He's an undependable football player. Because of again, there's the flash, and he is the sword that cuts both ways. He will help you, right? He's gonna cut that fillet in a good way, and then he's gonna ruin the meal. It's just, my concern with him moving forward is he has shown time after time what he is and who he is as a player. And again, there's this old saying in football, if someone tells you who they are, believe them. And I think he's had enough opportunities to see who he is. His coach right now, Bruce Arians, is one of the best, if not the best quarterback coaches in the NFL over years, over decades. And Bruce has gotten him to perform at optimum level. He still hasn't been able to get him to eliminate what the problems are. So in my opinion, it's time to move on. But similar to Jacoby, different but similar, until you have a solution to the problem, you can't get rid of what you got.
Lizzie, we miss you over there. You got any takes on Jameis Winston, what they should do?
I mean, girl, I always got a take. So I think when we're looking at Jameis, to me, and I'd like to hear Scott's opinion on this financially from the team's perspective, we've given him all of the weapons. He has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, all of these weapons. The quarterback whisperer comes out of retirement to coach him up, and yet the interception issue is still there. So I would like to see him in a competition. I would like to see this team sign him to a 1 to 2 year kind of prove-it deal, not spend a ton of money because obviously we don't know what they're going to have available in the draft and how much time a younger quarterback might take to mature. And so I'd like to see that happen, and I'm wondering financially if Scott agrees from a GM perspective if that would be a more frugal or cogent way about going through this.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is a great way to structure this deal. is a pay-for-play kind of contract where he gets a base that is fair and equitable, but if he has success and their team has success, he gets rewarded based on playoffs, based on performance. Put it out there for him to win as well. Because what you never want to see is a quarterback or any player perform beyond their contract and then not get rewarded. So the problem comes is, generally speaking, players and agents don't always have a realistic opinion of what their true value is. They always think that they're better than they are. That's where the problem may come in the contract. Now, if I'm Jameis Winston, I would sit back and think, okay, where have I had most of my success? Okay, I had Dirk Cutter 2 years ago. I've now got Bruce Arians. How many coaches have I been through? Maybe some continuity for me on a shorter time. Take a little bit of a haircut right now on the dollars I'm going to receive today to do something bigger and better and have success in the future. Then everybody wins.
Scott, before we let you go, obviously we broke down this latest Patriots controversy earlier in the show, but just given your history with the team, we obviously had to get your perspective of this. So what do you think of this ongoing situation?
My perspective right now is I don't think any of us knows what really happened. But my true belief is, knowing Bill, knowing that organization, that there's no way they would be this dumb to allow something like this to happen. There really isn't. I cannot believe that there's anything nefarious here. If knowing the history, knowing what's happened, they would never ask someone outside to do this.
The inner circle,
and,
right.
and again, I think that they learned. I truly believe they learned their lesson last time. I really do, and I was a part of that. And I think everyone learned a lesson in that whole situation. So to me, I see this as a situation. We've talked before about how new media and social media within organizations. In my last year with the Atlanta Falcons, we had 25 new employees come into the social media department, and there were a number of unintentional rules broken, mistakes made, things that happened. And I've talked to everyone from the 32 teams. Everyone has a situation and a circumstance like this. My guess and belief is that that's what happened here. I cannot believe that this was a football operations directed event.
All right. Thanks, Scott, very much for joining us. As always, we love having you stopping by, and we'll be back soon with you, I'm sure, hopefully. Coming up, we're picking some teams. But first, we had a snow game yesterday, and the Broncos and Chiefs players seemed to enjoy it.
Well, I think our minds were right. We knew it was a possibility we could get snow today. I thought guys was just in the right, frame of mind. Nobody was complaining. I think everybody was really excited to kind of get out, play in front of our fans today.
It's already hard enough to guard them on grass, clean grass. You mix it in snow. It's a tough deal for the DBs. It's a tough deal for everybody that was out there.
I think it's just the Kansas City barbecue just leaking through my pores. Makes me a little slippery out there. I couldn't tell you, man. I've been fortunate that the ball's even in my hands and just trying to make a play and get the ball north when I can.
All right, Snowgate. I think we can all say that we are Team Snow Game for this. Yes, we like the snow. I like the snow. All right, every weekend the internet gives us great content to debate about. This weekend, no different. So it's time for us to pick some teams. First up, Houston Texans three-time Defensive Player of the Year, J.J. Watt, took to Twitter on Sunday to tweet his support of his brother, T.J. Watt, for Defensive Player of the Year. TJ, the younger of the Watts, has had a solid year for the Steelers with 13 sacks, good enough for 5th in the league, 6 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions. So, Kimberley, are you team nepotism or team deserving?
Oh, team nepotism. That's your brother. Allegiances and all that, team allegiances, I get it. But family's family. Family over everything. I'm with it.
Lizzie?
I'm hashtag both things, because last night I was here at the studio watching the game and the bullpen, and we were all discussing how TJ Watt is certainly in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, and also props to Big Brother for having his brothers back. I think that's wonderful, and you should totally support family first. So hashtag both things.
Yeah, I agree. Hashtag both things. That's a good one. All right, next up, the soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders played their last home game in Oakland on Sunday, falling to the Jaguars 20-16. The Black Hole was sad and angry to see their team leave Oakland, and some showed just how much it was worth for them to be in attendance at their team's final home game. So, Liz, are you team just win, baby, win, or team care about your baby?
Care about your baby. Just care about your baby. Also, you guys, What did you expect? You've been a fan of this team. Now maybe you can wipe all that bad juju away, head to Vegas, maybe check out BetMGM, place a couple of wagers, and enjoy a newly reborn Raiders organization and team.
For the hell of it, I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna say team just win, baby, because that is the type of fan loyalty that the Raiders are losing by going to Vegas. People that will show up, even though they have kids at home, Christmas presents to buy, but they're gonna spend it on this experience, the last game. I love the Raiders fans, Black Hole, they deserve better.
All right, finally, we jump over to Cincinnati, where during halftime of the Patriots and the Bengals, local children took on some mascots in a friendly game, or what was supposed to be friendly, as the Cincinnati Bearcats mascot, Lucille, took the ball and went beast mode on the Tykes, trampling over several on the way to the end zone. So, Kimberly, are you team it's just a game or team ball is life?
Oh. Ball is life. Women and children, who cares? Like, if you're in my way, I'm running you over. I don't care, mascot or not.
Lizzie?
I am 100% with Kimberly on this one. Team ball is life. In my house, we have a saying, and that is, if you go flying, do not come crying.
Oh, that's a good one.
First.
I was going to say no pain, no gain, but that was a good one as well. Okay. All right, that's it for picking teams. Before we go, though, a couple of news items that broke while we've been here. Terrell Suggs is now a member of the Chiefs, getting claimed off of waivers from the Cardinals. And Adam Schefter is reporting that Seahawks receiver Josh Gordon has once again been suspended for violating the league's policy on performance-enhancing substances and substances of abuse. So, any thoughts on anything else that we may have missed, guys?
You know what?
Go for it, Kimmy.
A whole show, and we did not talk about the Buffalo Bills, who are going to the playoffs for the second time in 3 years, second time in 20 years overall. So credit Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier, Brian Dable, Trey White. Really, I'm glad that they were on Sunday Night Football. The rest of the world got to see what a really good defense they have.
Definitely shout out that Buffalo love, Kimberly. I remember you've been high on them since the beginning of the season, so I'm glad you got to see it. I just want to add, because we have to, Jarvis Landry was seen getting in Freddie Kitchens' face in a quite heated manner in yesterday's game on the sidelines. Obviously, the Browns lost to the Arizona Cardinals at Arizona, and then reports came out this morning that Landry and some other of the Browns teammates were yelling at the Cardinals sideline saying, come get me, which was obviously a phrase that Odell Beckham was accused of saying. So this Browns organization, man, you know what, to quote Jarvis, I'm just going to say, that stuff is contagious.
There you go. All right, that's a wrap for Cover 3 for Kimberly and Liz and Scott. Thanks for watching. Be sure to keep it locked on the Yahoo Sports app for Colts and the Saints coming up next. We'll see you right here next week.
Obviously, I don't know what the future is. I don't know what lies next week, let alone down the road.
I mean, we're resilient. I think really some of our away games are home games with how well we travel. So shout out Bills Mafia for that.
Yeah, when we're on the field, we ain't talking about no thumb. All right, we talk about that when the game is over and we're slapping after a win. That's when we talk about it. But I don't got to remind them. We ain't talking about no thumb on the field.
Probably so. Probably saw more middle fingers today than I have in my whole life. But no, they have a good time, man, and it was fun to ruin that for them.